The fashionable haters of Israel and the Jews will now feed on a shocking mistake, and caution, I'm going to show you disturbing footage. Last Friday, Israel's Defence Force said terrorists right next to Gaza's Nasser hospital had fired rockets at a corridor used to bring aid to Palestinians, the kind of Hamas crime our media plays down. On Monday, Israeli soldiers fired back, but then minutes later fired again as rescue workers and journalists predictably rushed to the hospital site, and about 20 people were killed. Israel's Prime Minister said it was a tragic mistake. But this again raises the question for me whether this war now costs too much even for Israel's own good. But there's another crime now alleged against Israel. A United Nations-backed agency said last week there's now officially a famine in Gaza City.
It is a famine. The Gaza famine.
But while journalists here in the ABC have repeated that claim uncritically, there are serious questions about it. For a start, that UN official you just saw is Tom Fletcher, his head of emergency relief, who has a record of making wild claims against Israel. He had to admit this obviously ludicrous claim back in May was false.
There are 14,000 babies that will die in the next 48 hours unless we can reach them.
Then there's the experts on the Famine Review Committee, which oversaw this report. One of the six is Andrew Seal, a relentless critic of Israel, who not even a month after Hamas terrorists started this war by slaughtering 1,200 Israelis, said criticism of this terrorist group was unhelpful. Israel was guilty of war crimes. He also accused Israel just weeks later of #Gaza genocide. Another of the six experts behind this famine declaration is Zaina Jamaluddin, who on X repeatedly attacked Israel, never Hamas, and just 2 months after the war started was already claiming people in Gaza faced catastrophic food insecurity. What's more, their report seems based on partial data when a full survey of children in Gaza City seems to show no, famine conditions have not been met. But there's more. Israel, as I've told you before, has stepped up supplies of aid to Gaza, and in Gaza City, the Thailandia restaurant, which, yes, had been earlier bombed, yesterday posted about the pizzas it was again making, and on the weekend showed its takeaway coffee and dessert. Elsewhere in Gaza, just yesterday, was the hot dog restaurant advertising its chickens. And last week, a Gaza supermarket advertised its full shelves and reasonable prices. Tin of tuna, $4. One man in Gaza 5 days ago posted this.
أسواق غزة بعد مجاعة أكثر من 4 شهور يا أخوان بلشت السوق وتغرق السوق، يعني البضاعة إلها فترة كبيرة مختفية عنا يا أخوان، صار موجود فقط الحين ناقص علينا بس اللحوم يا أخوان والفواكه، أما باقي البضاعة ما شاء الله السوق أصبح مليء، وإن شاء الله يا رب ما ترجع هالمجاعة من ثاني وربي.
I'm joined by Will Kingston, host of Fire at Will, a podcast from The Spectator on politics and culture, and Sky News host Danica Di Giorgio. Will, I'm not saying that every person in Gaza could get to the food or can even afford it. I'm not saying there are not hungry Palestinians at all. But to see such things, these restaurants and all that, in a place we're told is famine, does that add up to you?
No, it doesn't, Andrew. And as an aside, I apologise for the less than ideal framing. There has been a blackout in the holiday house that I'm staying in the ad break before that we went to air. So if you actually could see all of my friends racing around in a panic in front of me, trying to sort out the electricity, it's probably more entertaining than anything I'm about to say. But yes, it doesn't add up. I am yet to see a starving Palestinian adult, at least one that doesn't have pre-existing medical conditions, which I find is curious, given that all of the media are desperate to make Israel the bad guys. And I also just wonder why it is always Israel who are blamed for the humanitarian challenges that Gaza now faces. You don't talk about Hamas. No one talks about Egypt. No one talks about the UN and their failures. It always just seems to come back to Israel. And I think that reflects very poorly on the media and the global commentary establishment.
Now, I've got to say, Danica, I'm not denying that some people in Gaza might not be able to get to the food. I don't know. I just say that in famines I've seen before, I haven't seen restaurants and full supermarkets.
No, and especially restaurant quality meals, Andrew. Look, this UN-backed organisation that has declared a famine in the last week, they did the exact same thing in March last year, and then a few months later in June, they actually rescinded that declaration. So already they're untrustworthy. Already they've done this before. Secondly, they changed their global criteria in order to allow Gaza to fall into that famine category. And thirdly, where are they getting their information from? Well, they're getting it from the Gaza Strip, which of course is Hamas run, and also getting the information from the Palestinian Health Ministry, which again is Hamas run and has been deliberately inflating death figures and other medical figures since the very start. So the UN has proved itself to be very untrustworthy. And again, the media just laps it up. They hear the word famine and that's all that they are running with. No investigation, no curiosity. Yet, has anybody ever thought to stop and think, well, gee, you've got the US-Israel Humanitarian Fund, which is delivering 135 million meals. So why would Israel so blatantly and deliberately be going around starving civilians? Hamas, on the other hand, are looting aid trucks. And don't forget, Andrew, of course, there were UNRWA employees involved in the October 7 massacre. But there just seems to be such a sheer lack of curiosity around the world right now.
Yeah, I must say that they argue, oh no, we didn't change it just for Gaza. We changed our criteria because we changed the way the signs of famine were being measured, etc., etc. Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know. Just know those arguments are made. I saw the ABC's Media Watch last night attack Shari Markson for her exclusive interview with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, essentially saying she should have attacked him more because I guess they don't think he's attacked enough. But shouldn't the ABC itself, Will, have attacked Israel haters even more when they make false claims? But instead the ABC repeats false claims, like that idiot claim I saw before, that 14,000 Palestinian babies would die in 48 hours because of Israel. There was no questioning at all from the ABC about what was plainly an idiotic false claim. Have a look.
Famine has been declared in Gaza, impacting more than 500,000 people, nearly a quarter of the population.
14,000 babies could die within the next 48 hours in Gaza if there's not enough aid sent there. That is the grim warning from the United Nations humanitarian chief.
When they hear reports from the United Nations, such as this week, that 14,000 babies are potentially going to die this week as a result of a lack of baby food in Gaza, how do they defend that?
What's the ABC's problem really, Will?
Well, they're virulently anti-Israel. And Andrew, I've said this on your show before. I will say it again. There is no reason for a ideologically captured state-funded broadcaster in 2025. The ABC continues to provide more and more evidence for why it should not exist.
What do you make of that, Danica?
Well, I don't know if they're just simply obsessed with Shari Markson. I don't know. I think they're obsessed with their own pro-Palestine stance, Andrew, which is extraordinary given the amount of time, money and resources it actually spends on this Middle Eastern war. But if you watch the entire Media Watch last night, they also went after migration figures as well. They don't like to talk about that. They don't like to talk about big Australia getting bigger either because, it's racist. You're a bigot to talk about migration. But look, what I would suggest to the ABC is perhaps actually fact-check yourself. Fact-check your resources when it comes to this Middle East war, as we've just been discussing, the climate hysteria. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they didn't even cover Sal Grover's appeal against Roxanne Tickle in the federal court. So it just tells you everything you need to know about the public broadcaster we pay a lot of money to.
I tell you, Will, I think you're right. I mean, the ABC claims, it's the most trusted news organisation, which I can't believe for an instant. You can trust it, yes, to be biased. If it's so trusted and so valuable, go on a subscription service like Sky News and see if you can make a buck.
Yeah, that's right. I've actually occasionally, and forgive me for this, Andrew, done interviews at SBS and the ABC. And whenever I've walked into their offices, I'm amazed at how many people there are I'm amazed at how big the offices are. I'm amazed at all of the technology available. And you go into Sky, which is run efficiently, but it's run on a much more efficient budget. They are wasting our money, absolutely wasting our money.
I think that's absolutely true. Will Kingston, Danica Giorgio, thank you very much to you both.